This video is for Chapter 3, Section 6.3 for the math activity Percents with Percent Grids. We'll use 10 by 10% grids to visually solve percent problems. In the first question, we introduce the percent grid. The 10 by 10% grid is 100%. You can see here that 9 squares are shaded. That's 9%. Then we ask you to shade 37%, 2%, 0.5%, and 126%. For percents greater than 100, you'll need more than one grid. Remember to use your 10 by 10 grids or 10 by 10 space marked on graph paper. In question 2, we start with problem solving. Our 100% grid here is now worth $300. $300 divided by 100 squares is $3 per square, as illustrated here. Then we have two questions. How many dollars are represented by 14 small squares? And how many small squares are required to represent $24? In question 3, we ask you to shade a 10 by 10% grid to represent 45%. If the 10 by 10% grid represents 180 skateboards, how many skateboards are represented by the 45 small squares? Now remember here, we had our whole amount 300 and we divided by 100 to get the value per square. We're asking you to do a similar thing here. The whole value is 180. How much per square? And how much in 45%? Then we ask you to write an S in as many small squares as necessary to represent 27 skateboards. Once you figure out the first part, the second part should be straightforward. And then how many small squares did you label? In question 4, the 10 by 10% grid represents the number of teachers in a school district. And 28 of the shaded squares represents 70 of the teachers. So label your 10 by 10 grid and how many teachers are represented by one small square. If 28 squares represent 70, how many teachers per square are there? How many teachers then are in the school district? And finally, in question 5, one year a car dealer sold 1,584 cars. That's 132% of the number sold the previous year. We have 132% represented here, and we've marked that as the number of cars. The question says, shade and label your squares to show this. Determine the value of one square. We have how many cars, we have how many squares, and how many cars were sold the previous year. So it's a little straightforward problem solving. I hope you have fun with Math Activity 6.3. 10 by 10 grids make a lot of sense to use with percent problems. If you're careful and you label each piece, it should all be fun and make sense for you.